Okay, that's a good start. Right, so good morning. We're going to be talking about 11 Australia Permanent Cream Colour today. If there's anything that you would like to know in particular, any questions or anything, you can pop them into the chat, and I'll answer those as we go along. But today we'll give you an overview of the colour. We'll talk about mixing ratios, we'll talk about the colour wheel, we'll talk about our technical products as well. And like I said, if there's anything that comes up in between, we will also discuss those as well. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's just make sure that's sharing. There we go. Okay, so to start off with, just sort of give you a little bit of a brand history. So 11 Australia Permanent Cream Colour launched in September 2022. And previous to that, we'd had some liquid demi-permanent colour and our powder lighteners, which launched in the middle of the pandemic in 2020. So the permanent cream colour was a very welcomed sort of introduction to the range and really completed us. And what we absolutely love about 11 Australia is that it is a really high performing, beautiful colour range that is modern, that is for the modern stylist. So the modern working techniques, how we colour hair now, this has been designed to use that. The ingredients that we have within the colour as well really does make this a beautiful range, as well as the results. So talking about what's actually in the products, we have down to our packaging, we've tried to think of everything. So our packaging is recycled, the outside packaging. So you'll notice the boxes themselves are recycled. They are recyclable, as well as the aluminium is recycled and recyclable. So everything in there has been thought of how we're using millions of tubes of tint in the day and in the world, so we want to make sure that we are respecting the environment. Our performance, so we are resorcinol free. Resorcinol is a really interesting ingredient. Resorcinol can be a skin irritant. So you'll find that sometimes people say they're allergic to colour, but they're actually quite sensitive to colour. A sensitivity and allergic reaction are two very different things. And resorcinol is probably the thing that could make them sensitive to colour. So we've removed that already. There are rumours going around that this is going to be removed from all colours in a later date. But that's one of the benefits of having a colour that's made now, is that we've already taken out all of those things that we don't need and thought about, why are we having this in there? What can we take out? What do we need to leave in? And we've got all those high performing ingredients in there. So we are silicone free, we're paraben free, we're gluten free, so we use a pea protein, which I'll come on to in a minute. And we're also PPD free. We're vegan. We have those bunny ears, and it's got the more information that's on there. That's the packaging that's inside. So that's your how to use, and your instructions are inside the packaging, which is also recycled and recyclable. So ingredients, I quickly touched on those. Some salons find this is something that they talk about when I ask this question. Quite a lot of salons say they do talk about this, because I do believe now people are more interested about what we're putting onto our skin and onto our hair. We want to know what is in there or what is not in there. And I think that talking about ingredients really does kind of like make a difference to your clients. It might not be something that you're particularly interested in. However, you might find that if you start talking about this maybe on your social media, you will attract some clients where it does make a difference to them. So hydrolyzed pea protein. Hydrolyzed basically means where a pea protein is a larger size molecule, and when it is hydrolyzed, it gets shattered into smaller, different size pieces, which can enter further into the cortex. So we need it to be smaller to be able to get all the way in there and to build those bridges in there. The organic sunflower oil seed, really beautiful. This is what gives you that gorgeous shine on the hair. It stops the colour from fading. It gives that suppleness to the hair as well. So when you've used our colour, you'll notice you get the beautiful shine on there. That's thanks to the organic sunflower seed oil. Doesn't make the hair heavy, doesn't weigh it down, but just gives that hair that really nice strength and suppleness. The hydrolyzed quinoa. So again, quinoa, think about this. It's a superfood. What it does for the hair is incredible. It acts as a scaffold. So not only does it work internally, but it works externally as well. So the combability of the hair is far greater after having the hydrolyzed quinoa. It works on the outside of the hair to build the scaffold. So when you're combing through, you're getting that strength on the hair. The next one is the Alpha Bisabol. Alpha Bisabol is chamomile oil. So you'll notice when you have colour on your hair, the colour sits really nicely. So think about maybe when you had chicken pox when you were a child and you had the chamomile oil dotted all over you because that stops the irritation. It just feels really calming on the skin. That's what this does. So we've added that into the colour. So when you're having that colour, if you are a little bit sensitive, it will sit much nicer on the hair. And then obviously, like we just said before, that we are vegan, gluten-free, etc., etc. So a really nice little story all in one sort of like a slide there for you, just sort of Y11 Australia colour. Okay, I'm going to move on to the colour itself and understanding our colour wheel and number and lettering system. So we follow the International Colouring System, which starts from 1 to 10. And that denotes the depth. So 1 being the darkest and 10 being the lightest. After the decimal point, whether you do this in numbers or letters, this is the majority tone, the first number or letter. So for instance, if we say 7AG, 713. So 7 is the depth of the colour, lightness or darkness. So it's sitting in a medium dark blonde. And then the A, the 1, is an ash. The majority tone of that is roughly round about 75% of the tone. And then the second one, the 3, the gold, that would be roughly round about 25%. I can't tell you exactly what the number is because obviously they've been formulated to give us the best colour of the 7AG. It might be 78%, it might be 64%, but roughly it is round about that 75%. But what that means for you as a colourist, when you're mixing your colour and you're looking at a 7AG, 713, you can kind of think, right, okay, so this is, it's not a strong ash, it's a softer ash because we've added some gold into that ash. So it makes it a really soft, neutral colour. So this is why this is a sort of firm favourite for us, for a root tap, for instance, because it's sitting on the base 7. You want that to be, you don't want it to be like a flat ash. You just want that to be a soft, neutral tone. That's what the gold will do to the ash. It will just soften that ash a little bit. I hope that makes sense to you. And then sort of we've got our naturals that sit within there as well, which I'll come on to in just a second and how they work. Numbering or lettering, it's up to you, whatever works well for you. They're both on the colour tube on the outside of the packaging. And we also do have that really nice colour on the end of the tube, so you can sort of like at a quick glance see where all of your high lifts are, you can see where all of your golds are, etc., etc. So that does make it really easy when you're searching along. You're not just looking on a sea of numbers, you can sort of like look at our families as well. So again, we've tried to do everything that we can to try and make your life as simple as possible as colourists. Moving on to our colour wheel, this is inside your colour book. And this kind of shows you where all of our numbers and tones are sitting. And I think as a colorist, this is where things get really interesting. You know, you can see whether our violets are sitting towards a blue or whether they're sitting towards a pink. And that will make a difference when you're trying to enhance, neutralize. And it then allows us to think like a colorist. So the color wheel is something that I use a lot, and I make sure that I look at this all the time when I'm sort of thinking about, what do I want to achieve with my colour? Do I want to neutralise? Where is that violet sitting? Is it sitting near a pink, or do I need it sitting near a blue? So it really does make a difference. So keep looking at this, and if you come on any of our courses, we will go into a lot more depth about this. And as you can see, our ends sit right in the center of the color chart, of the color wheel. Ends are the most stable color that we've got. So the ends are made up with our primary tones. And what you'll find with our ends is that they are a true to tone color. What that means is, because they're made up of our primary colors, they're not sitting as a warm gold, a warm natural, or a cool natural, or a green natural. They're sitting right in the center of that color wheel. So when you're using a natural, your naturals are made, designed for covering white hair. So when the hair has no melanin in it, it is completely clear. It's not grey, it's not white, it's actually clear. There's nothing inside it, and it gives the illusion of it being white, but it also gives the illusion, sitting against natural hair, that it looks grey, but it is actually, there's no tone in it. So it doesn't suddenly turn a grey colour or a white colour, there's just nothing inside it. So when there's nothing inside it, it's almost, your naturals are like a pre-filler. They need to have certain tones to be able to replicate what our natural hair looks like. So let's take, for instance, a natural level 7. So a 7, when you think of your lightning curve, we go from sort of like reds all the way up to a pale yellow. So our 7s are sitting round about that orange tone. So they're just sitting above the yellow, and in sort of that orange, so like a pale orange. And when we are pre-filling hair, we need to put back those undercoats into the hair. So what you'll find is our naturals are perfectly balanced for that white hair. So we have made sure that in our 8s, we've got more of the yellow undercoat in there, and in our 9s, there's more of that pale yellow undercoat in there. So they're perfectly balanced for white hair. Now, sometimes people use our naturals to flatten out a colour, for instance. So put a bit of base in it is a kind of quite a normal tone. Just put a bit of base in it, and that will just soften the tone. What you'll find is, if you're putting a bit of base in it, you might be adding a bit of gold in there. So you need to think about why you're putting a base. And if you want to soften a tone out, if you want to soften a gold out, maybe put an ash in there, and that will help to soften that out. Sometimes, knowing what is in your naturals will give you that kind of understanding of like, right, okay, I know that if I'm using this natural, it's got equal amounts of primary tones in there, but it's also got some more of the warmth in there, because it needs that to cover the white hair. So it's good to know, to understand that, and then you're able to formulate better, and you won't get some unexpected results. Okay, so in our colour chart, hopefully you've got our colour chart, and it's got everything that you need to know in that colour chart. We also supply you with a great staff room poster for both our liquid demi-permanent and our permanent colours. If you don't have a staff room poster, please speak to your account manager, and they will be able to send you one out, because it's really good to have that on the wall. We all have those days where we've maybe not had enough cups of tea in the morning, and you're sort of like, oh, I can't think what I'm doing. We're all human. We can't expect to remember everything. That's where the staff room poster comes in. You can, at a glance, just take a look at that staff room poster and kind of go, oh, the answer's on there. So make sure you get one of those, because that will really save your bacon one day. So on the chart, it's a really beautiful chart. You can take the tones out, and you can sort of show this to your clients as a reference. I mean, obviously we don't say pick a colour, we don't say that, but it's quite nice to sort of show somebody, oh, this is what a gold looks like, or this is what a beige looks like, or a copper, for instance, just to get an understanding of those. So that's really nice. You can pull those out. And obviously, like I said, you've got your color wheel on there. You've got all your mixing ratios, which I'll briefly go over as well. And not to forget Digi. So if you haven't got a hold of Digi yet, please make sure you say a little hello to Digi. Digi is your virtual assistant. Now, this is not a bot. This is a real human, a real colorist sitting behind this. So if you scan the code on your color book, or best way that I do is make friends with Digi on your Facebook Messenger, and it's all my chats are still in there, so I can quickly, like the other day I needed to ask a question, or someone was asking me for a conversion, and I was just like, I can't think, and because I hadn't got the color book in front of me, I was sort of like, oh, I thought I'd quickly ask Digi, and Digi came back to me and helped me out, and that was really helpful. So I find it really useful of just sort of like, just if you're on your own even, and you just don't know what to do, or you can send a picture of your client's hair in, for instance, and sort of say, I was thinking I need to tone this to a beige. She's got a really strong yellow undercoat. I was thinking this, what do you think? And they'll help you. So they'll ask you for lots of information, but yeah, it's a real good thing to have in your back pocket. It certainly has helped me from time to time as well. Okay, so I've gone over our naturals already, but just to sort of make you aware, we do have naturals, and we also have double bases, so double N's, double O's. The reason you would need a double O or a double N is a real simple thing. It's about hair texture. So when you're assessing the hair, we're looking at the texture of the hair, we're looking at the amount of white that we've got in the hair as well. So if you are working on fine to medium hair, then you will be absolutely fine to get coverage with and our N range, our 0 range. If you are working on thicker, coarser type of hair, this is where you may need to use the double N's. So if you're a hairdresser, so you can visualize things with me. So if you think about the diameter of a fine textured hair, and then the diameter of a medium textured hair, and the diameter of a thick coarse hair, you've got sort of like small, medium, and large in the diameters. So the color molecules have in a tube of tint, there are a certain amount of color molecules. When you put those into fine hair, they spread out within the cortex, and you get this beautiful even result. Now, when the hair is working on that thicker, coarser type of hair, there are two considerations. The first consideration is that that thicker, coarser type of hair tends to have more cuticle layers. So we've got to sort of like push more color through because we've got more layers to get through, and the diameter of the hair as well. So the diameter of the hair is far, far wider than what the diameter of fine hair is. So we need more colored molecules, because if we put an N into thicker, coarser hair, those color molecules will spread out, but they will spread out too far, and the color could look translucent or uneven because you've not got enough color molecules. So basically your N's, let's say they have 100 color molecules in them. Your double N's have 300 color molecules. That's not the truth, by the way, the 100 and the 300. It's just for you to visualize. And you will then sort of spread those out through the hair, and that will allow you to sort of get that perfect coverage. Moving on to our ashes, we've got 5 up to 9 sitting in there, so you've got some double ashes within there as well. So really they're really nice, they're great for neutralizing, they're really good for sort of like getting rid of unwanted tones, enhancing colors. So they're fully intermixable, and they're sitting all on a blue. The next one is your golds. Your golds are predominantly sitting in that yellow category. So again, they can be intermixed with your naturals, with all the rest of the range as well. And your golds are really good for people that are perhaps only sort of got a few small amount of white hair running through the hair, then that you can use the gold to get coverage as well. These are my favorite, the beiges. So we've got the 3-1s and the 3-2s, really beautiful biscuity blondes, lovely for low lighting and getting those really warm, rich tones. Then we've got our coppers that are sitting in there, our copper golds. Our coppers are absolutely standout, really, really beautiful. The 8.44 is just stunning. I've got so many pictures of that. It is really a beautiful copper, really intense. And don't forget, you can soften any of these by adding in some ashes or some golds in there as well. So there's a beautiful range, and I do, if you haven't used the 8.44 plus, I would definitely recommend that you give that a go, even adding some orange intensifier in there if you really want to give that some punch. These ones in our warms, so these are the mahogany golds. Within the 11 Australia range, we looked at tones that were being used worldwide and sort of like the most popular tones. Now, popular tones, sort of like reds, are not the most popular tones. However, we do have some reds within our range, and using the 856, the 8MR to lighten your reds, we use this as a really nice one to sort of be able to sort of formulate. So for instance, if you wanted to make a 7 RR, for instance, we could use the 856 to sort of like lighten that tone up a little bit. But again, in our classes, we will go through how to formulate and to extend the range as well. By the way, the 856, the 8MR is absolutely stunning. I've used this for sort of white hair coverage as well, and it is really beautiful, especially with somebody that's got quite a colourful skin tone. Sometimes having golds on the hair can make them look really sort of even more ready in the face, where adding the 856, the 8MR, is really beautiful, and it really softens down that skin tone. You definitely should have a try of that one. And on the screen that you can see at the moment, this was actually used with 3%, 10 volt over a high lift tint. So you're seeing that in its pure tone. And then the 6RR, the 666, as I've already explained to you, that's a really beautiful intense tone too. We've got our intensifiers. So our intensifiers are to be added into or any of our colours apart from our high lift tints. So there's the rule on that one. Don't add those into your high lift tint. These are undeveloped dyes, so you can add these into your colour, and you don't have to actually count that in your peroxide. So if you did 60 ml of 6RR, for instance, you could put up to 10 centimeters of the red intensifier in there, but you would still only add in 60 ml of your colour. And I'll go through mixing ratios in just a second. Our high lift tints are, again, stand out, absolutely beautiful. They are really, they give the most incredible lift and also neutralize at the same time. I think high lift tints have not been used for many years because we've been scared of them. We've sort of been worried that we're going to end up with orange hair. So maybe if you wanted to sort of try a few of those in a few packets, just to sort of like test that out a little bit to get some confidence in those. It's stunning for seamless foils. We run a seamless foil course and we use the high lift tints in there. I think if you're working on a level 7 and above, you're going to get a really great result with this. Working on darker tones, you are going to get more of a caramel result, but working on the 7 and above, you're going to get really beautiful tones and lift. Moving on to our developers. So we have 3, 6, 9 and 12%. So 10, 20, 30 and 40 volume. These follow through with our colour range. So they're gluten-free, vegan, paraben, ammonia-free, and naturally derived ingredients and sulfate-free. So they're the perfect, they work harmoniously, should we say, with our colour. you can get white hair coverage with 6, 9 and 12%. I know this can be a little bit scary to some people of using 12% on the scalp to get white hair coverage, but your peroxide is not the thing that gives you the white hair coverage. The white hair coverage comes from the tube of tint. So the dye that is in the tube of tint that you're putting into the hair, that is what is going to deposit into the hair, and that is what is going to give you that coverage. Now, if you've got natural hair running throughout your the head of hair, you need to be thinking about the levels of lift that you need to get your white hair, your natural hair, to match the white hair. So if you're sitting on a base 6 naturally, and your target tone is an 8, if you was to put 6% with your formula, the natural hair will only lift up to a 7, and your white hair will deposit to an 8. And what you're seeing is an inconsistent result because of the developer choice. So what you needed to use was 9%. 9% would have given you 2 levels of lift for the natural hair, and it would have deposited the colour for the white hair. So picking the right developer is absolutely key. If you are getting inconsistent results with your white hair coverage, it's because you're not picking the right developer for the hair type. And we've got a white hair coverage course that we can go through this. And I know it comes up a lot. People are scared of using 12%. 12% is not the devil. It's not going to destroy your hair. It is basically lifting the hair, the natural hair, to the level that you want to do. It doesn't come with a magic wand, unfortunately. If you need to get 3 levels of lift, you need to use the right peroxide to give you 3 levels of lift. By putting 6% in is not going to give you that levels of lift. So it's really important that you analyze the natural hair and make sure that you pick the right developer. But if you are getting any problems with white hair coverage, please reach out to us or reach out to Digi, and we'll be able to help you. And like I said, we do run a course that will go through white hair coverage and white hair blending as well. So 3% is tone on tone colouring. So if you are going darker, perhaps like that model that I showed you earlier, where you've lifted the hair and you want to deposit tone, that's where you would use your 3%. Or if you're going darker, or maybe some fashion colouring after pre-lightening the hair. Your 6% is where you start to get your white hair coverage. You can use that to get 1 to 2 levels of lift. The reason why we say 1 to 2 levels of lift is, again, on the diameter of the hair. So finer hair will probably lift a little bit easier than thicker, coarser hair. So that's why it's got 1 to 2. So again, analysing the texture of the hair will make a really big difference to your end result. 9%, again, you get white hair coverage. You can use this with ultra high lift blondes. If you were sitting on a base 8, for instance, and you wanted to use the high lift tint, and your main aim was to neutralize unwanted tones, that's where we'd use 9%. If you wanted to get maximum lift, you would use 12%. And this will give you 2 to 3 levels of lift with any of your other tones as well. So like I said, if you were going from a 6 up to a 9, you would need to use either 9 or 12%, depending on the hair texture. And then finally, our 12%. So you can still get white hair coverage with this. Use the high lift tints, and you will get 3 to 4 levels of lift with this one. We also have some technical products which are really amazing. Barrier cream. I think if you're an old school hairdresser, you used to think of barrier cream that you used to use with perms, and it's really horrible, and it was like putting the nappy stuff around the hair, and it was not a pleasant experience. Whereas barrier cream within 11 Australia is a really beautiful product. It smells absolutely beautiful. It doesn't stop the colour from taking, so you can put that right up to the hairline. There's perhaps some more mature ladies that if you put get a little bit of colour onto their skin, they get that tidal mark on there. This really stops that. So it really premiumizes your service within the salon. And I guarantee you, if you use this on your client, they will go, oh, what is that? and you can have a conversation about it. If you've got somebody that's got like maybe some patches that are quite sore on the hair, you can pop that onto the scalp and the colour will still take. Then the Porosity Equalizer Spray. This is our hero product within the range. I absolutely love this. This guarantees your work. This needs to be used on every single client. The reason why this guarantees your hair, because if you think about someone with really long hair, that's got a long history on it. It's maybe had 5, 6, 7 colours, different colours. Maybe it went lighter in the summer, maybe it went darker in the winter. Been on holiday a few times, we've had central heating on, we've had all the environmental factors that have been happening as well, free radicals. It's had a big history going down the hair. And then we expect it to completely tone or colour, deposit exactly the same colour all the way from root to tip. But there's different porosities going all the way through the hair. And what this does, it evens out that porosity. Porosity Equalizer Spray, quite simple, but it guarantees your work. So you will be able to, if you feel like the ends are really dry, you can perhaps put some more Porosity Equalizer Spray onto the mid-lengths and ends. It has 95% naturally derived ingredients. So honestly, this is only going to enhance your work. And it's crazy not to actually use it, because this will make a difference. The next one we have is Colour Lock Spray. So Colour Lock Spray, again, when we colour hair, we know that the colour molecules take 48 hours to harden after we put them into the hair. So that's why we advise our clients not to wash their hair for 48 hours afterwards, because we want those colour molecules to harden off, and this is what will give us the longevity. Now let's think about what does a conditioner do? The conditioner works on the hair. It slightly goes into sort of like lodges itself underneath the cuticle, doesn't it? Because the cuticles are open after having the colour done. And then we are rinsing that back out again. So we're almost pulling some of that colour out, which makes, when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, we are actually. So we're putting more water into an unstable colour molecule, which could pull out of the hair. What Colour Lock Spray does, you spritz that onto the hair at the backwash. So slightly towel dry the hair, spritz the colour onto the Colour Lock Spray onto the hair. You can still do the scalp massage. I know this is like a massive part of most salons. When you go to have your hair done, one of the things that you look forward to, even having your hair coloured yourself as a colourist, is someone's going to massage your scalp. That's one of my favourite parts as well. You can still do that. The only thing you don't do is put the tap back on afterwards. You just squeeze the excess water out of it, and you take her over to the styling station and blow dry the hair. So you can still do everything that you need to do, but what this does is it finishes your colour service. So it locks down the cuticle. It has a low pH of 4.4, and what that will actually do is lock down that cuticle and finish your colour service, giving you more longevity of your colour. So it makes sense when you think about it. Okay, mixing ratios, and we're nearly done now. So mixing ratios, these are all on your colour chart. For your standard colouring service, it is a 1-to-1 mixing ratio. So 60 ml of colour, 60 ml of developer, and your timings is 35 minutes. Your intensifiers, as I said before, you can add up to 10 centimeters or 4 inches, depending on the result that you want. So you don't have to put full 10 centimeters in. You could put 1 centimeter in, because you just want to give that a tiny little bit of kick. In the bottom of your bowl, of the 11 Australia bowls, there are lines that go through the bowl. The lines that are going landscape, they are your inches, and in between your lines, they are your centimeters. So it's really easy for you to sort of measure those out. And your development time is 35 minutes. Nothing changes from there. And as I said, you don't count your intensifier into your colour mixing because it is an undeveloped dye, so you don't need to add that in. White hair coverage. Now, white hair coverage is up to 45 minutes, not up to, it is 45 minutes, sorry. 45 minutes. The reason for this is, again, we need to get as many colour molecules into the hair. We need for that to do its job. So it's an extended colouring time of 45 minutes. We do have a really good little chart on your permanent color chart, which shows you the 10, 30, 50 and 80%. So again, when you are analyzing the amount of white hair that's running through there, it's really good to be able to sort of like see what it is. When you think about 50% white hair, that is one white hair to one natural hair running all the way through the hair. That's a lot of white. So I think a lot of times we overestimate how much white is actually running through the hair. So I always, within the consultations when we're doing education, I always make sure that we really go through and analyze this. And it's really interesting to actually see how much white hair there is, because we were like, oh, I think she's got 80%, and actually she had about 40. So this is a good exercise to perhaps do with your team as well, and look at this. And then this is just giving you sort of like some white hair coverage, ends or double ends, depending on your the texture of the hair. But all of this is on your staff room poster, so you can look back on this. That one I've just done. And that is this one finished. So if you've got anything that you want to run through with us, just let us know. You can speak to Digi or speak to your account manager, and we can help you. But yeah, thank you so much for your time this morning, and maybe see you on the next one. Thank you.